Hello, today I'm going to be doing a video that's been a long time coming for me. I've had this set of stamps from Gina K Designs for quite a while with the intention of doing a video to show how versatile it is and just have not got round to it. But finally, this is the week that I've made the time to do it. Now it's called Inspiration Mosaic by Melanie Munchinga for Gina K Designs, and it has this really nice frame and some gorgeous sentiments. I mean, if you buy it for the sentiments alone, you know, you won't be disappointed. It's really, really nice. Some geometric shapes which you can use with this. But I want to show that you can use really all sorts of different stamps, different types of techniques, and create some very different effects with it. Now, all the stamps that I'm using today, with the exception of one set, I've had from myperfectstamp.com, and I'll pop the link in the description below. And I just want to show that really, with a very varied selection of stamps, different styles, different designs, you know, you can get some very varied results. So this is a set that was from Creative Stamping magazine, but then these other stamps from Gina K Designs, the Ink Road and Altenew, all from myperfectstamp.com. So I'm going to create 5 different cards, very varied, different styles, different techniques, but all of them very simple and easy to create, and hopefully show you that whether you've got stamps like this or just other stamps in your stash, you can get a lot of use from this Inspiration Mosaic set. And these are the cards that I'm going to be making today, starting off very simple and then bringing in some slightly more advanced techniques, but nothing that's out of the reach of a beginner. So I'm going to get all set up and we'll get on with making these cards. So I'm just going to move these stamps out of the way for now. All of the card blanks that I'm using are UK A6 size. It's approximately 4 by 6 inches. It's just a nice size that this frame will fit onto. So I've got my card blanks, and then I've cut some panels just the same size as the card fronts that I'm going to stamp onto, trim them down slightly and mat them directly onto my card. Now there's no reason why you can't do your stamping directly onto the front of a card blank. It's my personal preference. I just like to have it on another layer mounted on, but you could do all of these direct on a card blank. I've got a selection of different types of inks. I've got VersaFine, Distress Oxide, Distress inks, and as I say, today we're just going to look at some different effects, different techniques, just for creating some really interesting cards. So to begin with, I'm going to stamp the Mosaic base stamp. And this works, you know, you can use this in different directions. It's entirely up to you. All of the ones I'm going to do today, I think I'm going to do in a portrait. Haven't decided yet. May be lying there. I might decide to do something else. But for now, I'm just going to stamp the base onto my piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to line it up. And say, probably we'll just trim this down very slightly before I mat it onto my card blank. Now this is a brand new stamp, so it's a little bit sticky. Don't have a lot of room to get my magnets on the bottom, but it's butted up there, so that's okay. And I'm going to be stamping this using my VersaFine Onyx Black. It's a really nice black ink pad. And I'm going to be stamping all of my backgrounds in black today, so I'm just going to go ahead and do all of those now, and then I can clean my stamp off. The first card that I'm going to do is going to be using just the stamps that are in this set, and I'm going to use some of these little geometric shapes. Now, at first glance, you might think, what are they for? I don't really understand why they're there. But they're designed to fit perfectly within some of the shapes that are on here. And just by using some coloured inks, you're going to get just quite a nice abstract sort of effect. So just going to place my stamp where I want it to be. And for this, I'm going to use some Distress Oxide inks. I've got Broken China, Crushed Olive, Abandoned Coral, and Fossilised Amber. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all 4 of those, but that's the colours that I've picked out. They go quite nicely together. I'm just going to stamp some of these shapes into the grid, just to create quite a nice, simple card. I'm just cleaning my stamp off between colours. This was also from My Perfect Stamp, actually, and this is Gina K's stamp cleaning cloth. It's like an artificial chamois. I really like it. It's a quick and easy way to clean your stamps without resorting to baby wipes. I don't like using baby wipes. I know you can get biodegradable ones, but it's still just more rubbish that we're throwing away, and I like the fact that that's a washable, reusable cloth.
I never understood a word they said. Kept running in the woods alone instead. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Try to keep it up and standing tall. Why don't you stay, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Stay, please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Stay, stay here with me. I'm trying to make it up for my mistakes, but everywhere I turn, some hearts will break. Something, someone will end up getting hurt again. There's no need to play pretend. Why don't you stay, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Stay, please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Stay, stay here with me. You used to say that I was great, but I made too many mistakes. Your heart will break because of me, because of me.
And so that's our first simple card front. Just going to let that ink dry. Really nice using the geometric shapes, so perfect for male birthdays as well as females. But, you know, just what you can do with the set of stamps as it is without anything else. So I'll put that to one side. When it's dry, I'll get it trimmed up and put on the card blank. Next up, we're going to do some simple silhouette stamping, but masking off certain areas in the grid. And for this, I'm going to use this set of stamps, which is Festive Foliage by Claire Brennan for Gina K Designs. And I'm going to be using the holly leaves just because they're a nice silhouette design stamp. So I'm going to decide where I want them to go. And I'm going to be masking off the two areas here and here, I think, so that I can pop some sentiments on there afterwards. So to begin with, I'm going to position my stamp. And to mask off the area that I don't want to stamp onto, I'm just going to use a post-it note. And I also don't want it to stamp outside of this frame. So I'm just going to mask that area off as well. These transparent post-it notes were from Paper Chase here in the UK, but you can just use the standard paper ones. They'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, so happy with that. And I'm going to ink up using Evergreen Bow Distress Oxide.
Why don't you stay? Oh, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Why don't you stay? Please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Stay, stay here with me. Why don't you stay? Oh, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Stay, please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Stay, stay with me. One, two, three. I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
I'm just going to use Candied Apple to stamp the sentiment. And there we have a really nice, simple, very elegant looking Christmas card. You could always put a few little red gems on for berries on the holly leaves, or just leave it as it is. Heat emboss the sentiment in a metallic gold or something would look very pretty as well. For my third card, I'm going to be using this set of stamps by the Ink Road, which is called Expecto Stampo, and as you can see is a Harry Potter themed set. Lots of words, but a few nice little pictorial elements as well. And I'm going to be doing some inking in the background and again some masking, just to try and make it look like there's some dimension in these in the background design. So to begin with, I want to basically colour my whole piece of cardstock. And I'm going to be using antique linen distress ink to do that. I'm going to add some shading with vintage photo distress ink, and the stamping I'm going to do is with walnut stain distress oxide. So it's going to be all sort of shades of brown, because I want this to be a Marauders map style card. So I'm just going to move my stamping platform out of the way to begin with and pop down my craft mat so that I can blend some inks all over the background here. And I'm going to colour the entire background with antique linen distress ink. I don't mind in this instance if I go over the edge, because I'm going to be trimming this down to that line around the outside of the design. I also don't mind if this is a little bit patchy. I want it to look like an old parchment effect. So now that I've done that, I want to mask off these two areas. And for that, I'm going to use the post-it notes again. And I'm just going to trim them down to fit. So now I'm going to take my vintage photo ink and just blend around the outside edge of that, and it'll make these two panels look as though they're in front of the rest of the background. And that just adds so much extra depth and dimension to the card. When I've trimmed this down, I'm going to just ink around the edge of the panel as well, but I'll leave that for now. It's a little bit easier to do it once I've trimmed it. So I'll just move that back out of the way. And we'll get on to stamping in the detail. Now I want to pop a little bit of background design in some of these areas here, and I want to use the little footprints for that. And this is going to be quicker for me to do using a little acrylic block rather than the stamping platform. But I'm just going to pop my piece of cardstock on here. Just provides a nice base for stamping on with the foam panel in the back. So I've got myself a little tiny acrylic block there for the footprints. I'm just going to replace my two masks over the areas that I'd got masked off before. I've just taken those off just to show you the effect that we've got, but I don't want these footprints to go on there, so I'm just going to pop them back now. If you were doing this, you know, you would have just left them in place. And I'm going to use my walnut stain distress oxide. And I think that'll do. I don't want to go overboard with that. It's just for a little extra detail in the background. So I can pop that back on my sheet, and we can remove these masks. And now we're pretty much ready to stamp the focal point, which will be some of the words, and I think I'm going to do the Harry Potter stylized face as well. And once again, I'm going to be using the Distress Oxide in Walnut Stain. So this one, I'm just going to trim around the frame and add a little of the darker ink, and I'll be right back to show you what that looks like. And here we have our trimmed piece. I've just put a little bit of the vintage photo ink around the edge. Didn't want it too dark because I want that to show around those two panels, but they're perfect card topper for any sort of Harry Potter fan. So again, I'll pop that to one side and get that mounted on a card at the end with all my other toppers. Next up, I'm going to do some more ink blending. This time though, I'm going to create a scene in the background. And I'm trying to decide which way up to have this. I think I'm going to keep it the same direction. I really do like it like that. But I want to mask off a circular area for the moon so that I can use the moon sentiment in the set of stamps, the mosaic set of stamps. It's got the always shoot for the moon, even if you miss and land in the stars. So I want to use that along with probably thinking of you. And this is where I'm going to use one of the silhouette stamps from the Creative Stamping magazine set. So I've got my craft mat back out. I've also die cut just a circle from some card that I'm going to use as a mask. And this is just some repositionable glue that I'm just going to use to hold it in place temporarily. And I want to position my moon somewhere there. I'm going to use Victorian Velvet and Dusty Concord Distress ink. I mean, you can use whatever colours you want. You could go for a traditional blue sky if you want, but I just fancied something a little different.
I'm gonna skip my breaks. I'm gonna make a mistake. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me. Try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break.
And next I want to stamp my scene as such, which is going to be a row of trees. And I'm going to stamp this basically all the way across, but not in this area here, I think. So for this, I'm going to get back one of the masks that I used on the Harry Potter card, because I know I've got one of those that fits the panel exactly. So I'm just going to wipe off that Distress Oxide ink that was left on there. And pop that on there. And I'm going to be stamping my row of trees in line with that little line there. So I'm going to begin by placing it there, and then I can just slide my card across when I'm ready. I'm going to use the VersaFine again for this because it's a really nice black, nice solid black. and just stamp that across the other side of the masked off panel. I'm just going to pop those up here over the moon, just as an extra little detail there. And then going back to our set here, to our original mosaic set, I'm going to take the sentiments that I want to stamp and just place them in those panels. And we have a very nice card there, very simple. You know, just it is what it is, thinking of you, and it's a very subtle design in the background. So I'll move that over to the one side again, and I'll get on with the final card. So now we're going to do the final card, and for this I'm going to be using the Weekend Doodles set of stamps from Altenew. These are some really nice sort of sketchy flowers and wreaths. And as you can see, I've masked off that little panel again. That's where I'm going to pop my sentiment. So I've used the mask that I created for the Harry Potter card and just popped that in place. And I just put some paper underneath my cardstock in my stamping platform so that I want these flower designs to go over the edge. I don't want to get ink on the foam background.
Drive a faster car, lay my troubles to rest, blow the smoke through my cigarette. City lights looking fine, and I know this is my time now. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me, no, nothing.
So I'm just going to give that ink a moment or two to dry, and I'll get my watercolors and we'll colour in the flowers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour in one section at a time, and when I move to another section, another panel, I'm going to change the way that I'm colouring, either change the background, change the colour of the flowers, so that it looks like they've almost been sort of paper pieced together from different pieces. So I'm just going to use a set of watercolours. This is the Arteza set of watercolours to colour in each of the panels.
Never understood a word they said. Kept running in the woods alone instead. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Why don't you stay, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Stay, please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it all. Stay, stay here with me. I'm trying to make it up for my mistakes, but everywhere I turn, some hearts will break. Something, someone will end up getting hurt again. There's no need to play pretend. Why don't you stay, stay, 'cause I could really use a friend. Stay, please stay, 'cause my heart really needs a man. Somewhere, somehow, I guess I lost it.
So now you can set that aside to dry or speed up the drying with a heat tool. And then I can stamp the sentiment into the panel that I've left blank and trim it down. So I'm just going to clear the paints out of the way, and I'll do that. I'll come back and finish that. I've trimmed my panel. I've left a little border. I quite like the effect of just seeing the edge of those flowers and leaves uncoloured around the outside. If you don't like that effect, trim it up to the line. So I'm just stamping my sentiment into the panel there. And all that remains to do is now for me to put these 5 panels onto my card blanks, and I'll come back and show you the finished cards. And here are our finished cards. This was the first one that we did here, the simple geometric one. I'm using just the Inspiration Mosaic set of stamps. Very nice, quick and easy. Can do it in any colour scheme that you want, and perfect for men as well as women. Next we went on to our simple masking technique here, and we stamped the holly leaves in the background and just added a sentiment. As I say, I haven't got any little red pearls. I do have some liquid pearls, but at the moment it would mean setting it aside to dry, so I haven't popped them on. But a few red berries on there would really just lift the design. Here was our fun Harry Potter themed card, again masking off the areas, doing some inking in the background. I just inked the card blank as well here and just mounted my panel on with a bit of 3D foam. This was our lovely scene that we created. I just inked around the edge with some black ink and a foam pad just to sort of blur that outer line around there. And finally, here was our watercolor card that I coloured each of the different panels in a different colourway just to sort of break up the design. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're here in the UK, definitely check out myperfectstamp.com, which is where I had most of these stamp sets from. I mean, she does ship worldwide as far as I'm aware. But obviously, maybe if you're in the States, you can get hold of these stamps easily anyway. But it's nice for us here in the UK and for those of you in Europe to be able to find all these sort of American brands in one place. But as always, leave me a thumbs up if you did enjoy this. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost at the end of the year now. I've still got a couple more Craftmas Christmas videos to put out, and then next week we will be moving on to our final colour palette project. But for now, that's all. Bye.